BJP is a most corrupt government. How can the Modi change the thinking of the people? This government is a 40% commission government.
बराबर जम करके सजा करोगे। जब पोलिंग बूथ में बटन दबाओ ना, तब जय बजरंग बली बोल करके सजा दे देना।
Hello and welcome to this special show, Brass Tacks on the Road. We're standing at a beautiful vantage here overlooking the Bangalore skyline. You can see the seat of power, the Vidhan Sauda, and then of course there's the beautiful Kantirva Stadium. You can see UB City in my background, and I can't think of a better location to do a show as the campaign hits the final stretch here in the battle for Karnataka. Is it going to be the BJP or the Congress, or will the JDS spring a surprise? Today, we'll be talking on Brass Tacks on the Road about issues that political parties should be talking, that should be dominating the election narrative, but unfortunately, it gets drowned out. Issues that really matter to ordinary Bangaloreans, whether it is their everyday lives, the traffic woes that the city is infamous for, the potholes, the flooding that we saw last year, and of course, every time it rains in the city. These are the issues that ordinarily matter to the people of the city, but somehow mainstream political parties have not found enough of a voice or resonance, either in their manifestos or in the campaign narrative. Joining me here, a full panel of eminent Bangaloreans who are best qualified, I think, to be talking about these issues. Mohandas Pai is chairman of Manipal Global Education. Professor Tejashwini Gowda is former member of parliament of the BJP. Professor Sanjay Kumar of CSDS, familiar face on CNN News 18. We also have HP Ratna, spokesperson of the JDS. Prakash Belawadi, actor and journalist, and one of our fellow election commentators on CNN News 18, and Aishwarya Mahadev, Congress Party spokesperson. Let me start with you, Mr. Pai. You know, I have a sense of deja vu about it, because every time there is election season, we do these shows about how there are traffic woes, there are infrastructure problems. We've been doing this for 20 years, and it seems like nothing is changing or nothing is ever getting fixed. Why is that?
Well, it's got to do with political power. Out of 224 seats, Bangalore, I think, has got 28.
Yeah.
Politically, it is irrelevant. Bangalore provides 65% of Karnataka's taxes, 60% of our GDP. The majority of the jobs in the state is here. Economic growth is here. But it lacks political power. So the politicians come from all over, come to Bangalore, stay in Bangalore, take the taxes from Bangalore, give it to others as subsidy. You can see the manifesto of various parties, pay lip sympathy to Bangalore, throw a few crumbs, and it goes on.
But shouldn't this be the case for every city in Mumbai, in Chennai,
Every city,
in Hyderabad?
that's why, you see, we had the 78th, 79th amendment to give power to the villages, right?
Yeah.
In the panchayat. We have not had amendment to give power to the cities for the constitution. And that is the missing link. See, we are today 40%, 45% urban. Urbanization is the way out for India, not villages.
Yeah.
70% of farmers' children don't want to stay in villages. They want to go away. They want good, well-paying jobs. Agriculture does not pay.
Yeah.
But politically, our politicians believe power is there in the villages. So they have to give them more subsidies because they are not spending enough on development and creating jobs. And agriculture cannot create jobs. That is the sad truth. So we have this very big schism till the delimitation exercise takes place. Hopefully in the next few years,
there'll be more
where
seats.
the urban areas are ignored, investment is not being made, and we have deep challenges, and it sure goes on.
So let me ask Professor Tejashwini Gowda of the BJP. One of the points that Mr. Pai made, and I think it's a valid point, Bangalore City has not had a functioning BBMP and a full-time mayor since 2020. Basically for the last 3 years, Bangalore City has not had a mayor. Isn't that almost criminal in this day and age, that the city does not have one political points person that the people of the city can turn to and say, you know, fix my problems?
Zaka, first let me pay my, it's the pride moment for me. This is the BJP government who erected Nadaprabhu Kempegowda. Because of his vision, we got this beautiful city. Today it is the capital of, Narendra Modi's leadership and BJP's development card, which provided a platform to the Bengaluru name, brand name in the global arena.
Okay.
Number one. And also we erected that statue to give our future generation This
But
is
ma'am,
our-
the statue is not going to fix Bangalore's problems, is it?
Statue is very important. Mohandas Pai has taken. This is the same pheasant. This is the same farmers. This is not the Bangalore is not the only city built on the river bank.
Okay.
He is the visionary. We had thousands of lakes, talabs here,
Yeah.
Today, why Bangalore is overpopulated? Because of its beautiful weather. We are peaceful, peace-loving people. Law and order is there. We support other cultures. People love to come here. We embrace everybody.
But ma'am,
And
isn't
we
it
provided
the
them
job?
platform.
No, isn't it the job of a government to also ensure that people can go to their offices
So
in a
why
reasonable
others
duration
who ruled
of time?
for 60 years not done this?
Okay.
Why they have not recognized the Bengaluru potential? Why they have not brought this terminal to Bengaluru? Why
Okay.
they have not established 7 airports? Why without any business is there scope
So
to develop airports?
let me ask Aishwarya Mahadev, and I think she has a fair point in as much as I started the show by saying that it's not that the traffic problem has suddenly burst in the last 2 or 3 years. It's been there for the last 20 years. I have this interesting survey. It's called the Traxon survey. Bangalore, by the way, has the highest amount of time that any resident spends on the road. It is 230 hours in an entire year, which is roughly about 10 days, which means if everybody lives 365 days, 355 days Bangaloreans live, the rest of the 10 days you're spent in traffic. I mean, that's surely criminal.
Zaka, before I answer that, I think, when the Terminal 2 was spoken about, I think we saw videos of what recently happened with rains. But anyway, I think the larger problem, and also even the BJP's Home Minister, Mr. Amit Shah, has also admitted publicly, is that there are legacy issues when it came down to the administration with the BJP. But Zaka, I can say this emphatically that for the first time, see, we cannot all say that there was 100% governance in previous governments or successive governments whatsoever. But the unprecedented manner in how infrastructure has crumbled over these past 3-4 years, to the extent that the High Court had to haul up the government more than 8 to 10 times saying, do your job or we'll hold you in contempt. Or the fact that we saw Bangalore streets becoming Venice. We saw cars floating around everywhere. And this extends beyond. As ma'am speaks about Nadaprabhu Kempegowda, I also believe that there was a limit to which he envisioned the city. And the burgeoning growth has added a lot of pressure. But I think the incentive on upgrading infrastructure, one, has been lax. And second, the BBMP, or rather not having accountability with the BBMP, has been a huge issue. Because at least with the political class or representation there are certain fingers that get pointed at, and miraculously closer to elections, things may or may not get done. But that has really choked the city of Bangalore, and I think that has been one of the biggest problems that we're seeing, and it's further deteriorating because I don't see any vision to fix it.
Wasn't this the case when Congress was also in power between 2013 and 18?
So if you look at the period of 13 and 18 also, whether we had rains or whatnot, we never saw infrastructure crumbling to this extent. Or whether you see that the half-baked projects that are being inaugurated, you have a metro station today that basically goes from KRpura to Whitefield. But the station from Bayapnali to KRpura doesn't even exist.
Okay.
Right? There is unscientific development that has happened and nobody to hold accountable. And I think that is a larger problem.
Okay, Prakash Belawadi. Again, I don't want to get into this political tutu-meme between BJP and Congress. That's also been going on for the last 20 years. Nothing has changed. But yeah, one second. I'll come back to you. I'll come back to you. But where is the nub of the problem? I mean, I do see Bangaloreans complaining about whenever there is, infrastructure woes, traffic woes. Last year when the outer ring road belt got flooded, a lot of people came out on the streets and said this is not deserving of an aspiring to be first world city. But at the same time, you look at when it comes down to election time, when it comes down to voting. In the last election in 2018, the voting percentage in Bengaluru was 46%. Less than half the people actually turned up to vote. So you can complain for 4.5 years, but on the day that it matters, on the one day that your vote matters, if you're not going to turn up, then what Mr. Pai says is right. I mean, it's just 28 seats out of 224. It's 10% of the state. The politicians will not care.
What Mr. Pai said is right, but that is all the problem is there. See, I will say he mentioned 73rd, 74th Amendment. We were supposed to have had a Metropolitan Planning Committee. There's a conflict of interest with Bangalore Development Authority being the planning body and also the development body. It also does construction. The problems that you're talking about are engineering problems. They have done a triangulation with satellite. We know where the Bangalore sits on there's a ridge.
Yeah.
Okay, and water flows out on both sides. You can fix this. It's an engineering issue. Traffic is also yesterday I met Mr. Pai and he was saying we should have had 250 kilometers of metro rail. From the 80s we've been talking. I was a journalist in Indian Express and I've gone to a 3-day seminar, when the Ramakrishna Hegde government was there, when we were saying, that we should have a metro rail. We have talked about elevated rail, we have talked about light rail, we have talked about monorail for some time, and now we've got the metro, and it just never happens. The problem is this, I'll tell you. No chief minister in Karnataka, no political party in Karnataka, actually, will allow an empowered mayor to happen in Bangalore, who is directly elected, or a mayor in council. They will not allow, because
Why is that?
of the figures he has mentioned. 65% of Karnataka's GDP happens here.
In this one city.
They're not going to let go of this, because that mayor will become more powerful than the chief minister. So they'll never let go of that. And that is the problem. And you can see the manifestos. See, you're right. It's not, we've been agitating for 25 years now.
Yeah.
So it's not like some government come and fixed it.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what governments do, whether it is BJP or Congress or JDS. Even JDS, talked about doing elevated routes. That's what they'll talk about. See, somebody has done a survey. I'll give you a number that is important. 92% downtime is there with a personal vehicle. Because that's the average, global average. In Bangalore, it may be even more. You take it to work, leave it there, and you bring it back. And maybe, if you have the energy and stamina, you'll go to the club or something, you'll have some evening things to do. But that's very rare. It's really difficult in the city. Can you imagine having a machine that is down for 92% of the time? And Bangalore has got more than 10 million registered vehicles.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. So you can fix this, but they don't want to fix this. I'm not blaming any particular party, every party. They will not fix it for a political reason. And unless we do something really drastic, or we get a miraculously good man, we can't fix this.
No, so I'll get to, what those drastic measures are. Give me one moment. Let me get the other two guests also in. HP Ratna of the JDS is also here. Again, this is what Mr. Pai was saying, what Prakash Belawadi was saying is also, I guess, best exemplified for your party, because your party is not a Bangalore-based party, in the sense that you are largely driven by, the rural vote, the old Mysore vote. So what is the incentive for a party like yours to fix Bangalore's problems? You have no incentive.
No, Bangalore is a highly populated area compared to other places. See, as Mr. Mohan said, agriculture, according to his vision, I don't accept. Because he said, as per my knowledge, agriculture is the #1 sector, employment sector. So we have to provide migration from village to Bangalore city. Accordingly, we have to provide some skill programs in same villages.
Okay.
So that migration will be stopped and even population will be stopped. And
Do
in
you
that
see
way,
that happening? Do
one
you
day
see
we can
people not coming
we
from-
can control traffic. See, 1.5 crore people are there in Bangalore city, as per some
surveys.
Some denominations. Actually, he said as he said, agriculture cannot
Provide jobs for all of these people.
Yes, as it. But it is not that. Migration we have to stop, first of all. For that, Mr. Kumaraswamy, our leader, he's taken a decision that for per person, in our manifesto, we have made per 1 acre, per person, we are giving 10,000 rupees. 1 hectare.
You think that will stop migration?
Yeah, definitely. The skill programs will be continued there. We give skill programs. Accordingly, we create marketing also in the same places.
Okay. No, talking about migration,
Yes,
I
yes.
believe
Yeah.
CSDS is coming out soon with a survey about migrants, and Bangalore represents migrants more than any other city, I guess. There was a survey which said that in 2001, in the start of this century, the number of migrants as a proportion of population was about 34-35%. That's gone up to 56% as per the last survey. In a city where a large number of people are migrants, does that also have an electoral impact? Because they're like, हमें तो क्या है, मतलब यहाँ बसना है और वापस चले जाना है. So they don't turn up, which is reflected in the voter percentage as well.
Yes, you have already mentioned. You did mention about the turnout in the Bangalore city.
Yeah.
It's not only peculiar about Bangalore city. If you talk about any capital city of any state, it is 7, 8, 10% lower compared to the average
rest
of that
of the state,
state.
yeah.
So that's true of Bangalore also, but connecting it to what you said, migration. Yes, migration, and especially among the poor sections of the society, that has a huge impact on the turnout. I know that first, a lot of people are not registered as the voter, but that has no relationship with the turnout. The relationship with turnout is that large number of people who have migrated to the city, living in and belong to the poor and the lower sections of the society, working in informal sector. Despite Election Commission's instruction that everyone should get a leave on the voting day, that's not happening. That's not happening in Bangalore. That's not happening in many other cities.
can
So
I
what
just-
happens is that on the day of voting, they don't turn out.
Can I just ask you this? Is that the population that's not turning out to vote, or is it actually the middle classes who are the ones who are actually complaining, the ones who think it's a long weekend and we can go, to Mysore or to the hills or whatever?
I think there's a very strong perception or a strong belief that the middle class are not turning out to vote. But at least from our own studies, whatever we have been doing in several other cities, we figured out that lower turnout is not because of the middle class is not turning out to vote. Now these days it is seen as socially desirable to vote.
Okay.
It has become, I won't use the word fashionable, but socially desirable. You have to turn
Sure.
out to vote. It is that lower turnout among the poorer sections of the society why we see a low turnout in the big cities.
Okay.
And I mentioned the reason for that. The reason is very simple. People who are working in informal sector like this place, the security guard, the driver, the maid, and several such people, they don't get a holiday, and
Yeah.
they don't want to leave one day's salary, one day's earning just to cast their vote.
Also,
That's
I mean,
the reason for a very
there's
low
also the
turnout
issue
among
of they need, Aadhaar cards and voter ID
That's
cards
the
in the
secondary
place
reason.
where they're
That's the secondary
working. But
reason.
anyway, you wanted to make a quick point, and then Professor, and then we've got a lovely audience of young college students here as well. I'll get them to ask questions. Yeah.
Zaka, we must understand the migrants who come to Bangalore are not Kannadigas, largely.
Okay.
They come from outside.
Okay.
Like you said, 56%. I read a report that said only 35% are Kannadigas who speak Kannada, which is very sad. We are a welcoming place where we welcome everybody. But I would like everybody who stays here to respect the local community, at least speak Kannada, come and participate. They don't. Now they come here because a huge number of jobs. We got some, maybe 4 to 5 lakh people from Bengal come here, where they get jobs. They're all going away from Calcutta. They come from all over. They come here. They get very good jobs. They do very well. But their commitment to the society is missing. And the reason
So, but
for
when you say that, doesn't that make you chauvinistic?
no,
I mean,
it is not. I'm
people-
being
people
realistic.
say that.
Look, I have a principle. You go stay in Bengal, you must learn Bengali. You go to Tamil Nadu, you must learn Tamil. You go to France, you learn French. It's a way of paying respect to your local community. Because you're staying there, you're benefiting from the investment others have made, you're making a living, you must give back. That's a commitment.
Okay.
That's a duty. Now, that's about migrants. So I don't believe that, that you can stop migration from villages surrounding, because they're not the ones who are coming. You go to the airport and see who are the people working on contract, you'll be very shocked as to who they are. Because our local Kannadigas are not getting the jobs. Now, one important point I want to make from what Prakash said, we had made a suggestion, have 5 corporations in Bangalore.
Yeah.
So 5 mayors. It solved the problem of a superstar mayor. They did not want that. Why did not they want that? The reason is they want to control the city because the money is here.
Okay.
If you don't give approvals for building, if BDA does not do all that, where will the money come?
All right.
Everything is about money, contract for roads, everything. And every government is not that
Yeah,
they
one
are
party
same.
or another
Everybody
party.
the same.
Sure.
You see that net worth statement of one very prominent politician, you'll find the numbers are staggering, even for people from business. That number is staggering. Where the money coming from?
Okay.
So, this is the BJP government, how effectively we addressed these issues. That's why we created so many satellite towns to discourage this overpopulation here. To ease of this transport only, it is under the BJP government, Bangalore received 16,000 crores for the suburban railway project. Others were not even thought of it. It's Modi government, double engine government. Congress is the trouble engine always finding faults with others. Whenever they got the opportunity, they have not done anything. And also, this is under our government.
Okay.
We ensured 6,000 crores for this comprehensive development program. And it is our government, we already implemented 3 lakh, we built 3 lakh houses for the urban poor. And also, why?
But ma'am,
Out
I think that-
of
one second.
115
Give me 1
unicorns,
second.
they
No,
43 unicorns
one-
prefer Bangalore.
Yeah, fair enough. The highest taxes that were paid, the highest
Sir,
FDI
one
has
point
come
I
to
would like
Bangalore.
to make.
No, I want to ask you
So
one
Bangalore
question.
tax,
What-
70%
yeah,
of tax.
what-
Bangalore is paying 70%
So-
of the tax. They're
so-
contributing, but we cannot claim.
So-
we will provide the security. We will.
No.
You see,
So
10,000 rupees of.
point is, ma'am, if Bangalore is paying the highest taxes, can't Bangaloreans turn around and say, please give us roads that we can drive our cars on? Isn't that a fair question to ask?
Because see, today now you are seeing we only operationalized 70 kilometer of Namma metro. We established Namma clinic also here. 400 clinics with with lab facility.
All right, so that's a fair point that is being made, that a lot of development work has happened. But Prakash Belawadi, I think, wanted to make a point about you don't necessarily agree. Do you?
See, I want to say something that might be seen as controversial, but I beg everybody's forgiveness for the suggestion I'm going to make now. See, you know, Madam here was talking about stopping migration. You can't make a law to stop migration. Let's be
you
clear,
can't,
right?
of
So
course, yeah.
what will you do? The thing is not to give doles there. You take urbanization there. Karnataka needs, let me finish. Karnataka needs, I think, 8 big cities. Okay? You cannot administer 70 million people sitting at Vidhana Saudha. You cannot do it.
Okay.
You have to decentralize, and the best way to do it is to split Karnataka to 7 Kannada-speaking states. You have got these 7 zones. Everybody will have at least have a capital city, and they will concentrate on that. Otherwise, they'll come here as though they're doing business.
But don't you have,
they'll
like-
win elsewhere.
No.
They'll not care for this,
between
not that.
Mysore and Hubli Dharwad.
See,
You do
no.
have other big cities.
No,
It's-
what big city? Only Bangalore has got a population in excess of 1 million people. Okay, it may cross this year.
Yeah.
But you know, don't you think it's shameful that in
Okay.
the last so many years? See, I will give you one statistic and stop. You know, the peripheral road they want to complete.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean they've been talking about it since 2007, 2008. Okay, the farmers have been notified. They've given up on agriculture. Nothing has happened till now. Now they're promising to build that road. The compensation, because of, in my opinion, a silly law made in Parliament to pay 4 times the compensation,
Yeah.
or 4 times the market rate. What has happened is that no government has ventured to buy that land.
It's too expensive, yeah.
Now they're going to do 17,000 crores or something close to that is being spent as compensation for people who are giving up the land.
Okay.
What about the rest of Karnataka? It doesn't exist, is it? For the sake of Kannadigas, for the sake of Kannada culture, if you must decentralize, we will have 7 Kannada-speaking states in
No,
India.
by the way, talking about this land acquisition, and there was this other infrastructure project, which again, land acquisition was pending for a number of years. Just yesterday, I traveled on the new Bangalore-Mysore Expressway. You're from Mysore. Wouldn't that help create a second town, a second city that's as big as Bangalore?
See, Zaka, I think before that, I really appreciate Mr. Mohandas Pai saying there has to be a sense of ownership if you come to Karnataka, and I think a lot of other states have it. In Karnataka, that is lacking, but over time, I think that will increase. I think, Zaka, I completely also agree with Mr. Prakash Belawadi when you talk about decentralization. The Bangalore-Mysore highway is an example of, yes, taking transportation, easing, logistics to taking it to Mysore. But the other thing is, these secondary cities, when ma'am talks about satellite cities, it's about seeing whether you can have preparedness and expansion is sustainable for these areas. I come from Mysore, where besides the heart, you're hit by complete green belt. So from denotification to everything else, you're going to end up seeing your logistical and your log jams of the longest time. I think all satellite cities, if you want to decentralize, need to have an exclusive mandate to expand, to sustain, and only
No, but you
then
don't
can you
believe
push
in
back.
a hub and spoke. Like, if you can do Bangalore-Mysore in an hour and a half, why can't you do Bangalore-Hubli in 3 hours? Or why can't you do Bangalore-Mangalore in like 4 hours?
I think
it's possible.
No, absolutely. I'm not denying that, when it comes to transportation or road transport and whatnot, that is absolutely possible, and it will help carry away the pressure from Bangalore city and ease it up. I think that is also very necessary, but then comes the idea of incentive for political parties to actually take business there or help set up businesses there. And a lot of times the political will is lacking because when you touch the area of farmers and agriculture, it becomes almost like, nobody wants to disturb the largest communities that end up being participants in your
Interestingly,
process.
I was speaking to a bunch of people yesterday in Mysore, and they're all bullish. What Bangalore went through the last 20 years, I'm being told that Mysore is expected to go in the next 20 years because here it's it's saturated. We've got a wonderful audience, so I think there's a mic that one of you all have or will be passed on to the audience. If you have a question, please raise your hand. You can ask any of the panelists. I think the young lady there in the white salwar, she needs a mic. Yeah. Thank you. Introduce yourself and then go ahead and ask your question.
Hello, I'm Tanisha Bhattacharjee. I'm a student in Christ University. This question is to the entire panel, so anybody can answer. You all very rightly pointed out that the voting population that has migrated to the Bangalore do not come out and vote. Why do you think is that the issue? Because when we go out to vote, there's nothing that promised to us. And like as in like not an incentive to vote, but like there's no development happening because the most of the population that migrate to the city is working in the organized sector and not under the unorganized sector. We don't have roads, public transports to commute. We do not have like a standardized rate for living. Like when we talk about like owning houses or like renting houses, place to places, the rents of places skyrocket up. Like if you want to like take a place in Koramangala close to your office, it's very expensive. But then if you take a place at a cheaper rate, you have to spend hours and a lot of money, half of your salary on commute.
All
So
right,
how do you address this
let Mr. Pai,
inequality
yeah,
of
let
like...
Mr. Pai answer this question.
Saka, voting is an obligation. You have to vote to show your commitment to democracy and represent democracy. It is not an entitlement. Oh, you're not giving me a road, so I'll not go and vote. Nobody asks people to come here and work. You come on your own, you want to make your life, you want to make a career, you must go and vote. Vote for a person of your choice. Don't keep crying, the person is not good, this person is not good. Vote for the best person. Nota is not an option. First, you must show your commitment to democratic society by going and voting.
But the
Then
point
you-
I think she was making is, you know, even if I vote, what am I getting in return?
What am I getting in
The
return?
problem-
Oh,
if
man,
you don't
gotta
vote,
work
getting,
in this
you're
I'm
not
place.
getting
selecting a good
potholes,
person,
I'm
and
getting,
you can't expect
you know,
government.
traffic
Come on,
jams
give
in
a
3
break.
You
hours.
have to vote,
Give a break.
ensured, your livelihood is ensured.
Yeah,
Okay.
give a
Your
break.
better living
Okay.
is ensured.
All right.
Why do you come
And,
here?
and you're having the freedom to migrate to another state. This is
Sure,
the beauty
sure,
of
sure.
democracy.
Yeah, you
In
have to
many
vote.
countries,
If you
many
don't
countries, we don't
vote,
have this,
then you will be
freedom.
losing a good
You
person.
know, all the
Okay,
problems...
you have to vote.
You're losing one good person, yeah.
I have a one-line answer to you. The only real development that happens in Karnataka happens in Bangalore. If you're not happy with this, then you're really in a bad place.
Okay, I think, you know,
Okay.
before that, all the reasons you gave me are precisely the reasons why you should vote. A lot of youngsters, and I come from Christ, I know that SG Palya Dairy Circle madness. Trust me, I've been there for 5 years of law. But what I'm saying is, at the end of the day, with a lot of youngsters, what I see is two things. One, not in my backyard. If it's not directly hitting me, I don't really care.
Okay.
And the second thing is, you are not proactive enough because even all sections of society, you give voting on a Friday, nobody will vote. They go to Coorg for a holiday and they get 3 days. Now it's on a Tuesday, very intentionally so it's in bang in the middle of the week. And the second thing is, remember this, that sense of responsibility you have. Everybody thinks Nota is cool. I think it's the most ridiculous proposition for you because it means you haven't researched enough as to who deserves your vote.
Okay.
And I'm very strong about this. But I think when there is no development, that is more incentive for you to go vote as a sign of protest.
But
Don't
ma'am,
refrain.
nobody is
the-
promising development also.
Okay.
Nobody is
all right,
promising
you've made your point.
development.
I think Professor Sanjay Kumar wanted to make one.
No, I think if you look at elections in India over last several decades, one thing we have noticed is that the turnout among the younger voters have been less. The turnaround has taken place since 2014.
Yeah.
That the turnout among young voters has increased. I'm a little surprised when I hear that why should I vote, that I'm not getting this and that. I must tell you that we have been doing some field work around Yelahanka, where the lot of construction work is going on, and we met a large number of migrants from Assam, Bengal, Bihar, Odisha, and we were posing this question again and again.
Okay.
Most of the people have voted in their own city, in their own
In
village.
their own state, yeah.
And the probing question was that, do you get some incentive to go and vote? They said, no, we don't get incentive. And then my follow-up question used to be, then why do you go to vote? And the answer thrilled me in a sense, no, it's my right. I have a power to vote, so I must go and vote. This is my obligation to the country. So,
all right.
And in the big surveys also, the larger surveys also, we have been asking this question, do you think your vote makes a difference in how things are run in this country?
Yeah.
And we did ask this question way back in 1967, and we have been asking this question over a period of time.
Yeah.
So more than 75% of Indians believe they have a right to vote. They
And
must
their vote makes a difference.
Yeah, vote makes a
Okay.
difference.
We have yeah.
So, hello, myself Kanika. I'm from St. Joseph's University. My direct question would be to BJP spokesperson. As you specified, there are certain Namma clinics and Namma Yatri apps. I have, specifically, I roam around Bangalore, to be frank, and I have never seen a Namma clinic. To be very frank, I'm not being offensive, but what I've seen, I'm just specifying. And when you specify about Namma Metro, Namma Clinic and certain things, what development are happening here, don't you think that road development is much more important? Because certainly a while ago there was road like water blockage in nearby to Whitefield, and there was a lady who died out of shock because the wire was hanging and it was inside the water. So certain things I feel that better than, I mean, before you work on other developments, don't you feel that first the
Okay.
road developments are
Fix the
important?
road infrastructure. Yeah.
Developments always you must see in comparison. How much of resources, the governance always, and also what kind of other challenges we are facing. This is not the, how weather changes, how natural calamities, what kind of amount of money we are raising. We faced suddenly this COVID, this thing. How to pull down all our resources also, how to, we cannot neglect the farming sector who are feeding us. We have to take up social welfare measures also for the others. Just because we are fortunate to get a better life in Bangalore, you cannot,
ma'am,
you cannot
is-
deprive,
but
you
is-
cannot
isn't it
deprive
a-
others' development.
Isn't it a fair question to ask? Yeah, no, isn't it a fair
It is
question?
my answer.
Yeah,
Okay, it is my answer.
Sure,
I am
sure,
the
sure,
BJP
sure.
spokesperson.
Sure.
Yeah,
But
ma'am.
others can
These children
contest
are having,
it.
you are having, this is the best digital government and social media age you are living. You can click Nama clinic, you will find in every ward. Only you have to go to that.
Ma'am, I
You
haven't.
won't go to the government hospitals. You won't trust in
That's
government
not true, ma'am.
doctors. And you speak
Okay.
lot and you don't vote. That's
All
the
right,
problem.
okay.
Zaka, the budget is 2,75,000 crores last year, and this year 23-24 3,06,000 crores. 26,000 crore more taxes collected in 22-23 than budget estimate. This is the rich state. I mean, this Namma thing, what will it cost 50 lakhs per one clinic? I mean, I don't think resources are a problem. The farmers...
Laboratory, along with the laboratory, along with the laboratory, we are establishing this number.
Talk figures. No, please.
You see,
No,
don't say lack of resources,
ma'am.
please.
You can
Okay.
express.
Let's not have a tutu, ma'am,
your
please.
opinion, but
No, I
you
met
cannot
CM.
cut down my
Okay.
opinion.
See,
Okay.
I met CM. They have increased the subsidy on giving interest-free loans from 3 lakhs to 5 lakh rupees interest-free to farmers.
Okay.
It's 2,500 crores. I told him he could have spent 1,000 crores to create job for young people. Why didn't you
Are
allocate
you
job for
opposing
young
that
people?
All right.
Are
Okay.
you opposing-
one
are you
second.
opposing
Let me get more questions.
Yes,
Anybody
I'm
else?
not
Yeah.
empowering.
I think the young
I'm
man
not
here.
opposing
Somebody
proportion.
pass the mic.
Have a sense of proportion.
Okay.
please.
All right. Let's get a question from this young man. Your name and then who the question is directed to.
So I'm Vibhu Prakash, and my question is to the panel. As a student, I'll talk about the BMTC because I use the bus a lot.
Yeah.
So we have been talking about the road jams, and there has been a shift from the government to increase public transport and to encourage people to adopt that with metros and the Vajra buses recently. Yet before the pandemic, there were 7,000 buses in the BMTC. They fell back to 5,000. In 22-23 budget, there was no allocation for BMTC, and now the remaining funding that the BMTC has is being directed towards Vajra buses, which are becoming crowded instead of buying regular buses, which could be quantitatively more helpful. And the remaining fleet is also being sold to, for example, the North-Western Karnataka Transport Organization. So is there a mismanagement of funding in the BMTC or public
I
infrastructure?
think that's a great question because in the sense that, we're talking about roads, private cars. You have almost you said 10 million cars, right? I mean, you're not going to solve
About
this.
12 million
Yeah, you're not going to
vehicles.
solve this without solving public transport.
See, BMTC used to do 45% of the passenger trips before. Now it's come down to some 36 or 37%. All those 6,000, 5,000, 7,000, whatever those numbers are, I think 500 to 600 of them are under repair most of the time. So let's say 5,000 buses are working. They occupy less than 1% of road space. Okay? But yet governments are so keen to spend money on everything else. See, Zaka has been talking about road. I'm saying road for whom though? That's the question. If you can actually dedicate buses, road space for buses, and you actually had 15,000 buses, it will solve this to a very large extent.
Prakash,
but you don't want to offend car owners.
No, one second. There is a problem.
There's a problem, you're right.
There are two problems there. One, they tried dedicated bus corridors in a city like Delhi, for example, which has far more road density. Bangalore, by the way, has the lowest road density of all major cities in India. How are you going to have dedicated bus corridors in a city that's already crying out for more road space?
Zaka, the problem is in the question that is inherent is that as though it's an entitlement to give private vehicle owners space on the road. Priority should be given to public transport users, period.
Okay.
If a bus is traveling on the road, you stand by the side, wait for the bus to go. It should be clear what is wrong with this. This is science.
Okay. Let's get, the gentleman here.
Yeah, I'm Anand. I'm an activist. I'm also a member of BPAC. So in the manifesto, you have been telling about the freebies to the people. With 2,65,000 budget and with all the expenditure, we are left with 60 to 70,000 amount. So where do you bring money for this freebie? That is my
I think
question.
you should answer that, Ashwarya. You've made, what, 5 guarantees?
This question is to all the parties.
Yeah, I think, the freebies.
So, I think the odd classification is that when the BJP promises you something, it is for social justice or economic prosperity. But when the Congress does it, it becomes a dole or a freebie. And I'll tell you, every single one of
he's asking about the math.
I'll talk about that. Yeah. So every one of the guarantees that we have, we believe is going to be an economic driver in the current economic situation. You cannot deny the fact that electricity tariffs are through the roof, and then the lower middle class and the BPL families and the people that do need that protection most, we believe that 200 units of electricity in a year is probably around 3,000 odd crores is what we would be spending on that. I have the calculation, I'll pull it out for you. And we believe that this will save them from tariff price. The second
Now, when you're
thing
saying 2,000 rupees to every woman in the state, right? Yeah, that is
36,000
yeah, that is 35,000 crore rupees.
Yes. So the idea of giving 2,000 rupees to a woman, and mind you, when they offer 6,000 to a farmer or 2,000 during COVID to women, it did not seem to matter to the BJP. But this 2,000 rupees is very critical. You saw gas cylinder prices skyrocket from 400 to 1,100 rupees. But you also push out this idea that you've stopped kerosene. You don't have chulas anymore. How are households going to actually function without any sort of cushion for the rising prices? The daily essentials also are skyrocketing, whether it is fuel or cooking oil and whatnot. There is a certain amount of a net of protection that is required for families and communities and classes that need it most.
Fair
it
enough,
is justifiable.
but I don't think,
Zaka,
I don't think the math adds up.
I think so, but lastly, very simple.
Point, yeah.
If we can save upon the 1,50,000 crores that has been looted by the BJP, we can more than fund every single guarantee, whether it's a dole or what.
That's a political. He gave the budget number, basis the budget number. The question
Constitution of
was
India assured everybody
that
the dignified life, right?
Okay.
We are in 75 years, okay? So are they not entitled for their livelihood? That's why BJP is very practical. We assured them 3 cylinders who can't afford, poorest of the poor. Because of other social reasons. Even today, untouchability is there. Even today, they were not unable to get the education and that houses and all. Such people, because of their social background. That's why, as long as reservation will be there,
tell me. No, can I ask one second? Can I ask one question?
No, state assured through its constitution.
Fair
it
enough.
is their assured right to
welfare state.
right to life.
One second.
Right
Welfare
to
state. No,
livelihood.
please answer this. You have promised 10 kilos rice. There was this Anna Bhagya scheme under the Congress government which did exactly this. Your party came to power, you scrapped it, and now you're promising the same thing again in the manifesto. How does that make any sense?
1 minute. Zaka, here, the main difference between Congress and ourselves, 5 kilo rice, 5 kilo millets we are giving. Millets, for whom we are buying from the ragi, jola, like Johar and all. No, less, you see, these rural areas where there will be less rainfall.
Yeah.
What are the promises they are going to keep up? Definitely the BJP government will never going to keep up their promises. As they said, from the gas cylinders has been increased from 400 to 1,250. How is it possible? All
Salaries also increased.
People are fed up. See, our Kumaraswamy, he did it 26,000 crores. Salamanna he did. That is government. That is a great achievement.
Quick point, both Prakash and Ashwin.
A single point.
Yeah.
From the way all 3
Spokespersons,
spokespersons are talking, you see, in principle, they agree with the dole thing. Okay? It's just they're accusing each other of not being fair with it or not being honest with it. That's the thing. But everyone agrees with the dole thing. There is a vision of social welfare for governments where you see up to a certain point, you provide everything to the citizen and then allow competition to come in. That kind of thing is there. Really, this is not worth discussing, except conceding one point. The one point is that there could be scientifically, 62% of air pollution in India is indoor air pollution. Do you know that? It seems counterintuitive. So, to give gas cylinder is a very important thing. So I'm saying it has ramifications, but I don't know whether they get a good team to sit and discuss
We
this.
need to
Zaka,
introduce green energy.
what is
Green energy, solar energy.
Zaka, what is the most important thing before the people of Karnataka? We want good job for our young people.
Yeah.
Every year, 10 to 11 lakh young people attain the age of 21.
Yeah.
5 to 6 lakh graduate to college. We want good jobs. We are creating 12 lakh jobs a year in Karnataka. The data is there if people want to have a look. 12 lakhs. But 80% of them pay less than 25,000 rupees. It is not enough. We must create more jobs. Out of these 12 lakh jobs, about 4 to 5 lakh jobs are taken by people who come from outside Karnataka. Our people don't get it. Because you know why? Because in Bangalore, the people from the north of Karnataka don't have the skills or the training to come. So we have a problem. So the focus should be, how do you create 8 to 10 lakh high quality jobs paying about 30 to 50,000 rupees a month for people in Karnataka?
But Aishwarya's party says that they're going to give 3,000 rupees to graduates, right?
No,
because
because
there are unemployed graduates.
Do you think people want 3,000 rupees? They're not beggars. They want jobs. Invest for jobs.
Okay.
Development, investment, get jobs, get industry, spend and get jobs.
Yeah,
Jobs are
Aishwarya, quick
important, not
response and
easy.
then
Okay, so along with
Quick
Yuvanidhi,
response.
with Yuvanidhi that comes as a fund, and let's be honest, a lot of us have a lot of privilege here when we sit here and speak, but 3,000 rupees and 1,500 rupees for a lot of first generation educated moving into the workforce is extremely critical. But the Congress has two other promises. Is one, we will fill 2.5 lakh government job vacancies that exist in the system currently, which exclusively go to Kannadigas just by the language requirement one. And the second thing is, we believe that job creation is something that we will prioritize. So we will give you this fund as an assurance for 2 years until we ensure you have a job. I think it's
All right, on that thing about young people and getting those, we have a young audience here, so let's get one more question from the gentleman here. You had a question, yeah.
Yeah, my name is Dhruv. I'm an engineering student. I study at BMS College of Engineering, and I've been a resident of South Bengaluru. And I believe that, none of these issues that we are discussing today, traffic or garbage, is of any importance to any of the political parties contesting. But instead, what I believe is, from Nandini issue to Hindu-Muslim communalization, all what parties are doing is, confuse and divide and caste politics. But what we instead need for a city like Bengaluru is importance to the legislation. The MLA stands for legislation, which is itself not being given importance. And city governance, planning, and deterioration of quality of life in Bengaluru.
Okay. So we had to get in this whole divisive issues. I mean, because the narrative is being dominated by that. I'll get both the political spokespersons to respond to that. You have made this an issue. I mean, you have made the issue of Bajrang Dala, you have made the issue of Nandini versus Amul.
That's why we assured off-liter Nandini milk to the people who are suffering from nutrition. So, and also it will empower our Kisans. Milk and silk is the lifeline for Karnataka. We grow a lot of silk, and also because of this hainugarike, what we call animal husbandry, it is the main backbone.
No, but you are being accused by Congress of taking Nandini away and bringing Amul in.
No, they accused us. In fact, Nandini is 39 rupees for the litre. And Amul is 54 rupees leader. Bangaloreans are very wise, even to say 1 rupee, Zaka, believe me. And also, Zaka, can you stop me if I want to have Amul ice cream? Amul ice cream manufacturers buying Nandini milk. Yeah. I would like to have my Nandini milk even in London. I would like to eat my Mysore Paku there. Even in, and also I would like to extend marketing to Gujarat. I would like to see Nandini establishments in all other states also. It is a federal state.
Okay, what about these I mean, while you say, BJP plays divisive politics, communal politics, it is in your manifesto that it is said that Bajrang Dal will be... One second, let her respond. Bajrang Dal will be banned. You can't blame them if they latch on to that issue.
Before anything else, ma'am talks about how half a litre Nandini milk is being given to families, while the easier thing would have at least to be giving the farmers the 5 rupees protsaha dana that they've been promised. That has not happened for 5 or 6 months. I come from the heart of where the dairy farming...
7 rupees per litre.
I did not interrupt you. The fact of the matter is this. It's an issue of Kannada pride, not only as a brand, but the fact that 26 lakh farming families depend on this one. Second is, if you have procurement hit, or if you do not support these industries as a cooperative, and we've seen how the cooperative ministry subsumed industries in the northeast and became part of a larger angle, I believe that it is a right of every Kannadiga to talk about protecting their own institutions, because we saw the way that the tradition of the banking in India comes mostly from us here, from your Vijaya Bank to your Corporation Bank, none of which exist anymore. And I'm sorry, please excuse me if I want to fight for what I believe is right.
No, what about the Bajrang Dal issue?
Second thing, 1 second. if you read our manifesto clearly, it says, and the BJP shouldn't be afraid if they are so protective of the Bajrang Dal, if they can ensure the Bajrang Dal to not wreak havoc or create any drama or create any communal violence, they are safe. What have we said in our manifesto?
Okay.
We're saying organizations like, it is an example, it is not an explicit ban, but for the BJP,
Okay,
they do
okay.
not have any issues
All right.
in these elections.
Let's
that is why
get
they're
more.
communalizing.
No, you've asked a question. Please pass on the
You
mic to
asked
someone
one
else.
more
Anyone,
question
anyone else?
of Bajrang Dal, I need to answer.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Then I
Quick-
also need
quickly.
to complete
No, no,
my
what's-
You know, desperately they wanted to polarize this election based on communalism.
Why would we?
BJP doesn't want it.
We have
and as far as
issues.
Asta is concerned,
We're talking
Constitution
about your
Articles
corruption.
25 to 28, to practice, to preach, to propagate any religion is assured by my constitution. They cannot question it. And also,
Okay.
my state, Karnataka and southern India particularly,
No, sir.
we contribute so much of resources through the spiritual tourism. They
Okay.
cannot question my Asta. They questioned Ramji ka Asta, Ayodhya ka Asta. Now, Hanumanji,
BJP
Okay.
people of
conducts election.
Karnataka will give their
Okay.
befitting
No,
answer on
Got it,
May
got it.
10th.
Yeah,
especially
quickly.
conducts election
Quickly,
on Hindutva. They go on Rama and Hanuma elections. Our country is a secular country.
Okay.
We see unity in diversity.
There is
Okay.
no land
Okay,
for
can I
Hindus
bring
to
this
live.
back? Can I
There
bring
is
this
no
back?
land
I think
except
you asked a
Bharat for
question,
Hindus
right?
to live.
Okay, got it.
I
got it.
believe
They must
there-
understand.
Sir,
Nowhere I can live as a
Okay,
Hindu.
you-
Nowhere
Sir,
in the
ma'am,
universe.
you can't. Yeah, please.
I believe that discussion could have gone on, city governance and legislation, but in fact,
I think
it turned
you made
another
your
to-
point, yeah.
No, because MLAs now have become one-stop places for civic issues, solving civic issues of being marriage or etc. The legislation point is not what's being brought up.
You made
and I
that
would
point.
request-
Pass on the
yes.
mic to the lady there. Yeah,
Yeah, hi.
go ahead. Yeah, it's on.
Yeah, hi. My name is Priyanka. I'm a software engineer. I'm working in Accenture. Sir said that we have the right to vote. It's our right. Nota
Yeah.
is not cool. Okay, I understand that. But when your guys are forming the government, where are you giving priority to the majority of the votes? One is forming with the other is forming with the other. Now, all the three of you blame each other. When it comes to the number of seats, you join, right? And then you say, we don't have a full-fledged government. That's why we can't promise you the guarantees.
No, I
Please
think this,
focus on the development.
this is a fair
There
question.
is no respect for Nota. If I'm voting for Nota is majority, that means I don't like any one of the person standing over there.
Okay, I think what the young lady here is asking. I think it's a fair point. I think in the last 20 years or so, Karnataka has had only 2 elections where there has been a full majority to one party or the other. 2013 there was one, and if I'm not mistaken, after that, in the last 20 years, Yediyurappa's government, when the first time he became full-term chief minister. But there is a serious concern of a hung assembly. And if it's a hung assembly, it's anybody's game. BJP can go with JDS, Congress can go with JDS. I mean, we've seen that in the past.
No, what you're saying, Jaka, is factually correct. But one has to think about that carefully. You can't have a mechanism, quick fix arrangement that this party can't, form a government with this. I think this is about if there is a fractured mandate. I won't say the blame has to be on the people also, but when we hear about this whole idea about why we should vote when when the leaders are not functioning, I think this is the result of little bit of cynicism which has crept in urban class, middle class voters. I think looking at the situation on the ground or what you have already mentioned, I think it requires more interest of the people for the people to take more interest, turn out to vote. But Karnataka is an exception. Yes, this is a Karnataka election. We are discussing Karnataka, and that is why this issue has come up. But look at how things have changed during last 5-7 years. Most of the governments have been a single majority government during last 5-7 years. Karnataka is an exception. There are other states which are an exception.
We'll see. I guess we'll know in this election whether the trend of having decisive mandates or whether it will be a fractured one. I've got the final couple of minutes. So I'm going to take one quick word from everyone on the panel. The one thing you hope will get fixed in the next 5 years, which hasn't been fixed in the last 5.
Urban mobility, public transport, 10,000 buses, 250 kilometers of metro to be done in the next 3 to 5 years.
We need a safe city and secure city, and also because of this COVID and all, this urban, we must reduce the imbalance between the urban and rural population.
I'm not sure whether it will get fixed or not, but I think there is a lot of concern about increasing unemployment. something needs to be done to tackle a problem of increasing unemployment.
Our city, Bangalore city, it has to come number one in our country. That is the main.
Isn't it not already number one?
Not Mumbai, na?
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Prakash.
We can save Bangalore by investing in the development of other towns in Karnataka. That's the only way to go. We have 14 times more vehicles on the road than the roads can take. So I'm saying you cannot.
Okay.
This idea of developing Bangalore needs to stop.
You have to start developing other cities quickly. Final word, yeah.
You know, I've seen Bangalore through the years, and I think we were always a multicultural, very loving society that worked with each other. Over the years, there have been, basically a lot of hate and divisiveness within society, and I really, really hope going forward, the one thing, infrastructure and all is secondary, but the heart of Bangalore has always been, it is a home for everybody from everywhere, and I really hope that, peace and harmony is one thing I really hope to see in Bangalore.
All right. It's a beautiful city. It's got beautiful people. It's got its problems like every city does and has. But hopefully you will get a fix to those problems, at least some of them, over the next 5 years. I want to thank this wonderful panel and this wonderful audience that's joined us. Thank you very much. A round of applause as we close this final episode of Brass Tacks on the Road. If you've been watching, thank you very much for your time.
जब पोलिंग बूथ में बटन दबाओ ना, तब जय बजरंगबली बोल करके सजा दे देना।
भाई कहता है काली क्या मैं गोली खाऊंगा इस देश के लिए।
The Karnataka Prestige Battle. Catching the poll pulse from newsmakers to voices that matter.
ये साउथ का प्रवेश द्वार है और इस बार हम यहाँ पर पूर्ण बहुमत के साथ भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकार।
Congress party would come back to power with comfortable majority.
Congress should not get any space because it will take that particular state backward.
Issues, impacts, and implications. Battle for Karnataka. Verdict Day live. May 13, 6 a.m. onwards.
Ministerial contender, the former Chief Minister, Mr. Siddaramaiah. He's had a hectic day of campaigning in his constituency, Varuna. You've had thousands of people in the roadshow that you've just had. What gives you confidence that Congress party will come back to power on its own in Karnataka?
I am 100% confident that Congress party would come back to power with comfortable majority. This time, the people have decided to vote Congress party only. The people of Karnataka are fed up with this government, BJP government. There is a strong anti-incumbency against BJP government. That is why they are comparing our government with Kumaraswamy government and BJP government.
I have a sense of deja vu about it because every time there is election season, we do these shows about how there are traffic woes, there are infrastructure problems. We've been doing this for 20 years and it seems like nothing is changing or nothing is ever getting fixed. Why is that?
Well, it's got to do with political power. Out of 224 seats, Bangalore, I think, has got 28.
Yeah.
Politically, it is irrelevant. Bangalore provides 65% of Karnataka's taxes, 60% of our GDP. The majority of the jobs in the state is here. Economic growth is here. But it lacks political power. So the politicians come from all over, come to Bangalore, stay in Bangalore, take the taxes from Bangalore, give it to others as subsidy. You can see the manifesto of various parties, pay lip sympathy to Bangalore, throw a few crumbs, and it goes on.
But shouldn't this be the case for every city in Mumbai, in Chennai,
Every city,
in Hyderabad?
that's why, you see, we had the 78th, 79th amendment to give power to the villages, right?
Yeah.
In the panchayat. We have not had amendment to give power to the cities for the constitution. And that is the missing link. See, we are today 40%, 45% urban. Urbanization is the way out for India, not villages.
Yeah.
70% of farmers' children don't want to stay in villages. They want to go away. They want good, well-paying jobs. Agriculture does not pay.
Yeah.
But politically, our politicians believe power is there in the villages. So they have to give them more subsidies because they are not spending enough on development and creating jobs. And agriculture cannot create jobs. That is the sad truth. So we have this very big schism till the delimitation exercise takes place. Hopefully in the next few years,
There'll be more
where
seats.
the urban areas are ignored, investment is not being made, and we have deep challenges, and it show goes on.
So let me ask Professor Tejaswini Gowda of the BJP. One of the points that Mr. Pai made, and I think it's a valid point, Bangalore city has not had a functioning BBMP and a full-time mayor since 2020. Basically for the last 3 years, Bangalore city has not had a mayor. Isn't that almost criminal in this day and age, that the city does not have one political points person that the people of the city can turn to and say, fix my problems?
Zaka, first let me pay my, it's the pride moment for me. This is the BJP government who erected Nadaprabhu Kempegowda. Because of his vision, we got this beautiful city. Today it is the capital of, Narendra Modi's leadership and BJP's development card, which provided a platform to the Bengaluru brand name in the global arena.
Okay.
Number one. And also we erected that statue to give our future generation.
But ma'am, the statue is not going to fix Bangalore's problems, is it?
Statue is very important. Mohandas Pai has taken. This is the same pheasant. This is the same farmers. This is not Bangalore is not the only city built on the river bank.
Okay.
He is the visionary. We had thousands of lakes, talabs here,
Yeah.
Today, why Bangalore is overpopulated? Because of its beautiful weather. We are peaceful, peace-loving people. Law and order is there. We support other cultures. People love to come here. We embrace everybody.
But ma'am,
we
isn't
provided
it the
them platform.
isn't it the job of a government to also ensure that people can go to their offices in a reasonable duration of time?
For 60 years not done this.
Okay.
Why they have not recognized the Bengaluru potential? Why they have not brought this terminal to Bengaluru? Why
Okay.
they have not established 7 airports? Why without any business is there scope
So
to
let me ask
airports?
Aishwarya Mahadev, and I think she has a fair point in as much as I started the show by saying that it's not that the traffic problem has suddenly burst in the last 2 or 3 years. It's been there for the last 20 years. I have this interesting survey. It's called the Traxon survey. Bangalore, by the way, has the highest amount of time that any resident spends on the road. It is 230 hours in an entire year, which is roughly about 10 days, which means if everybody lives 365 days, 355 days Bangaloreans live, the rest of the 10 days you're spent in traffic. I mean, that's surely criminal.
Zaka, before I answer that, I think, when the Terminal 2 was spoken about, I think we saw videos of what recently happened with rains. But anyway, I think the larger problem, and also even the BJP's Home Minister, Mr. Amit Shah, has also admitted publicly, is that there are legacy issues when it came down to the administration with the BJP. But Zaka, I can say this emphatically that for the first time, see, we cannot all say that there was 100% governance in previous governments or successive governments whatsoever. But the unprecedented manner in how infrastructure has crumbled over these past 3-4 years, to the extent that the High Court had to haul up the government more than 8 to 10 times saying, do your job or we'll hold you in contempt. Or the fact that we saw Bangalore streets becoming Venice. We saw cars floating around everywhere. And this extends beyond. As ma'am speaks about Nadaprabhu Kempegowda, I also believe that there was a limit to which he envisioned the city. And the burgeoning growth has added a lot of pressure. But I think the incentive on upgrading infrastructure, one, has been lax. And second, the BBMP, or rather not having accountability with the BBMP, has been a huge issue.
Hello, Namaskar. This is First Post and you're watching Vantage with me, Palki Sharma. It's Friday and we have a list of geopolitical blockbusters for you. Action in Ankara. Russian and Ukrainian representatives came to blows there. Drama in Goa. Jaishankar's cold reception of Pakistani leader Bilawal Bhutto Zardari. Colour in London. Less than a day for the coronation of the new king. His realm is already slipping from his hands. and suspense in Canada. Will they expel Chinese diplomats? We'll tell you about all these stories. Also, the US banking crisis. 3 banks have collapsed in the last 2 months. 2 more banks are said to be in trouble. What is the NATO doing in Japan? What does its pivot to Asia mean for India and the region? And what are hope molecules? We'll discuss the headlines first. Another temple in Australia has been vandalized. Pro-Khalistan vandals deface a temple in Sydney. This comes ahead of Prime Minister Modi's visit to Australia later this month. He had raised the issue of frequent temple attacks with Australian Prime Minister in March. Terror continues to bleed India. 5 soldiers killed in an encounter with terrorists in Jammu and Kashmir. Mobile internet services have been suspended in the Rajouri district. Indian Prime Minister Modi to be the guest of honor at France's Bastille Day parade on the 14th of July. Prime Minister Modi accepts French President Macron's invitation. The visit will coincide with the 25th anniversary of India-France strategic partnership. An Indian Armed Forces contingent will also take part in the parade. Venezuelan President Maduro accuses the Biden administration of looting his country. He's angry over the proposed sale of oil refiner Citgo. It is Venezuela's most valuable overseas asset. A U.S. court has ruled that Citgo's shares can be sold to pay off its creditors. UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak fails his first electoral test. Tories suffer high-profile losses in local elections. Britain is battling the worst cost of living crisis in decades. General elections are expected next year. And BMW warns owners of 90,000 vehicles in the US to not drive them. It has ordered a recall of the cars over defective airbags. BMW says the airbags could explode in a crash. The do not drive alert follows similar orders from Honda and Ford. Russia and Ukraine are trading blows, not just in the battlefield, but in diplomatic meetings too. Tonight, we'll tell you what happened at a meeting in Ankara. Delegations from Russia and Ukraine were present. A Russian official tore Ukraine's flag. What followed was quite dramatic. You have to see it to believe it. It's like a street brawl, and the pictures are telling. The room for diplomacy is shrinking. Both sides seem intent to battle this out. And it's only intensifying in the wake of the alleged assassination attempt on Putin. That's the big claim that Russia made this week. They said Ukraine tried to kill their president and that the US hatched this plot. To prove this, Moscow released a video. It showed a drone on top of the Kremlin. Russia says it was an attack drone. Ukraine says it had nothing to do with it. Irrespective, Russia is pounding Ukrainian cities and it is striking hard, also threatening to go after the US. Moscow says it's on the brink of war with Washington. This is what Russia's deputy foreign minister said today. Let me quote from his statement. "We're working to prevent relations with the US from plunging into the abyss of an open armed conflict. We are already standing on the edge of this precipice." What is America's response? The US says Russia is lying, that there is no basis to the claim that the drone attack was masterminded by America. Listen to this.
One thing I can tell you for certain is that the United States was not involved in this incident in any way, contrary to Mr. Peskov's lies. And that's what they are, just lies.
What about the assassination bid? Is that a lie too? The US hasn't said that yet. It says it is still gathering information and it doesn't have conclusive proof. Russia, meanwhile, is doubling down both on the battlefield and on diplomatic platforms. Their foreign minister is in India. Sergei Lavrov is participating in the SCO foreign ministers meeting. It's being held in Goa. And that's where he brought up the drone attack. He said any self-respecting country should now refuse to speak to Zelensky.
Это ясно был враждебный акт.
It was clearly a hostile act. It is absolutely clear that the Kyiv terrorists could not have committed it without the knowledge of their masters. We will not respond by talking about whether it was a casus belli or not, but we will respond with concrete actions. I would like to say it once again, we have plenty of patience. There's a saying, Russians are slow starters and so on. Speaking about Washington's attitude, I took note of the statement by Tony Blinken, who said that the US would not dictate to Ukraine how it should defend its sovereignty. That probably says it all.
So Russia is treating this as a hostile act. It has been pounding Ukraine with missiles. The capital city of Kiev is being attacked repeatedly. Earlier today, Russian forces fired a drone at Kiev. The Ukrainian air defenses brought it down, and the moment was captured on camera.